This is the Broken Castle. Many people ponder the question of how the prince went from the well-respected, reasonable Prince Albert to the madman he is now known as. As his servant, I have been asked this question countless times. I suppose the first time I noticed something was off was when the day we heard he lost the war. I was going to the palace. I had a message to deliver. I knew that the message was straight from one of the generals in the war, and, by the way, it was given to me. I could tell it wasn't good news. Far from it. As I walked from the entrance to the palace, I felt the rain fall from the sky. There was a flash of lightning and the wooden floor outside of the entrance creaked. I was opening the door. I saw the prince sitting on a once grand throne, rocking back and forth as he muttered something.
The gold will save us. Will save us. The gold is why we left to fight. It's how we will win.
He spotted me, and once again the throne became the beautiful chair it was supposed to be.
What is it?
Sire, I have a message for you.
Well, go on. Hand it over then.
Of course. The prince walked down from the throne and took the paper from my hands. I watched, nervous as how he may react. Lightning struck once more as the prince's face dropped. He put the note down.
So, we lost? And what of my father?
Dead. He died in battle.
Dead? He's dead?
Yes, my lord, he was killed in battle. He sat there for a few seconds, then he walked away. Later that night, I received a letter from one of the final holdouts of a nearby city. The letter read,
Whomever it may concern, the opposing forces are heading to the castle where our former king once resided in. To anyone willing to fight, I would recommend putting up your final stand. I am the last holdout in a city under siege. I do not have long left. The enemy has overwhelming power and will take this city without any defenses. Yours will be next.
It was not a hopeful message, as anyone could clearly see. I decided I should tell the prince. After all, what was the worst that could happen? My lord,
Yes. What is it?
I have a letter.
What does it say? Do not waste my time.
The opposing forces are closing in. They're coming for you, my lord.
Away with you, servant.
As I walked out, I heard muffled whispers coming from the prince's living quarters. I heard a crash, and a sound like little objects falling onto a wooden floor. Coins, I presumed. I saw another servant walking past, seemingly to go check on the sound.
I am heading to go check on the crash. The prince could be injured.
He is the king now. He wishes to be left alone.
I will be there for but a moment.
I would recommend you do not go in there. The king is not in a right state of mind. I fear what he would do if you were to interrupt him. He looked at me, confused, and kept walking. I decided it wasn't worth trying to convince him. I continued to walk down the long hallway when I reached quite close to the end of a hall. I heard a shriek, as there was a flash of lightning. I kept walking, not to suffer whatever fate had befallen the naive servant. It had been but a few days, and the first outer towns were put under siege by opposing armies. Every day the king seemed to have a few less hairs, and the castle became far quieter, mostly because when anyone spoke up about the situation, the king would lash out. There were people saying there was no hope for our once grand kingdom. The air around the throne room had grown thick, and the light of the sun that had once adorned the room had become dark. There were strips of darkness leaking out the doorway. Hardly anyone had been in the prince's quarters since the last servant entered. I never bothered to ask what happened to him. I had to build the confidence to go into the town to face the people. They had been asking for their king to say something about the situation and to at least, for the very least, give them hope.
What is it? Oh, it's you. You're the one who gave me the news about my father's death, correct? He was such a good man. But then you left me to this hell. Go. Tell me what it is. Why are you here?
My liege, the village chiefs are asking when they can get an audience with you. They wish to speak to you about these events.
Of course they do. Why wouldn't they? What time do you think we should speak with them, servant?
The heaviness of his voice was like a dark glaze striking down on me. It used to make me feel happy, with this pleasant gaze. No longer. How was I to react? I felt as if this was a trap, or some kind of twisted test. I did my best to tiptoe around the question. My liege, I shouldn't be making these decisions for you, but I believe as soon as possible would be best.
Very well. I think that's best as well. Well, get to it. Make this castle fit for the previous king. That's just perfect. Now I need to worry about those morons. Have they made a good decision in their life? They're just trying to save themselves. You think that too, right?
It was a day or two, I cannot fully recall, until we did speak with the townsfolk. The king feared that if he did not respond, there would be an uprising.
Traitors.
As he called them.
They are afraid. They need someone to say they have a plan. They need a king.
One by one, all of the town's representatives poured in with people by their side.
Hello, my friends. I have been informed of some questions you all have about your excellent king.
Hello, Prince. We have the...
Prince? My father is dead. I am now your king. You will refer me as such.
I'm sorry, my lord. We have heard that after the battle that ended your father's life, the opposing forces had decided to head to our lovely town and invade it. We want to know what your plan is for stopping them.
May I tell you all a story?
Yeah?
About a year ago, I spoke with my father, your former king. He told me.
There are a large group of soldiers from another country who have set up camp in one of our coastal towns.
What are we going to do about it?
They have a large amount of gold. I intend to take it.
What plan do you have in mind?
We will use our gold, we will use it to train up soldiers, and we will use them to take what is ours.
He lied to me. We have lost. We are now only trying to survive.
What are your plans, my lord? How will we stop the opposing armies? They've already won.
We must survive. The city must not fall. At all costs, we must win. My first order is to shut the gates. We will not let any new people inside the city.
We must discuss this further with our fellow people, my lord. We will come back with our thoughts and readiness.
Of course. Let me know what you think about my idea. I can promise you this. You listen to me, it will keep your lovely town safe. Fools. Judging my ideas? I am their king. How dare they question me?
After the representative left, the prince began to start planning for everything and anything that could come towards our home. Over the next few days, I noticed the palace start to feel different. Scratch marks began showing, scattered across the walls. I noticed the prince's mannerisms begin to falter. His voice was changing. The speed and tone slightly shifted. However, his dedication to our town, or rather, himself, never changed. One of many dire attempts to save our empire began with the towns just outside of the castle walls. Only one day passed and terrible news had reached us. The villagers were rushing in from the outskirts, reporting their homes burnt to a crisp by the opposing forces. I sprinted towards the room of the prince, but I was too late. Another servant had already beaten me there. I stood outside the room, waiting to hear how the prince responded. I heard yelling and then the sound of door crashing. As the dust settled, I saw the face of an unfortunate servant. He looked distraught and in pain. I headed towards the dungeon with the unlucky servant hanging over my shoulder. I glanced quickly at the prince's living quarters. Feathers littered the floor, scratch marks all over the floors and walls. I continued to walk to the dungeon.
Just leave. Just leave. Just leave. He's mad.
The servant was unresponsive. His breathing was shaky at best. He was as pale as a ghost. I opened the door to the dungeon and saw a trail of red spots leading towards a cloth over a vague object. I set the servant down in the far corner as I tiptoed towards the figure. Fearing what I might see, I lifted up the cloth, revealing the man who went to check on the king a few days prior. But before I could process the implication of this, I heard a crash coming from the top of the castle, followed by crackling noises with a shriek. I rushed up the stairs to warn the king of the possible attack from an unknown enemy. I went to the door and I slowly opened it. I saw a fire slowly creeping forward. It was relentless. I watched as it burned the banners that represented our old king's grand empire. That empire was over. The prince, our so-called king, had lost his The door opened. The prince stepped out.
You. Why have you came? I've treated you well. And you plot to stab me in my back, you traitor. You're the spy. I have known about this the whole time. You thought you could fool me. How wrong you are. I am the king.
I am no spy. I merely came here to warn you about the fire.
You lie. You've come here to kill me. You and all the traitors. You will die for this attempt of my life.
He drew his father's blade. At that moment, rain fell from the sky. After a few seconds, the fire was all but gone. The mad prince stepped closer. A servant stepped between us two.
Stop this madness. We must leave to find the culprit of this violent attack.
Get out of my way. Don't protect this traitor. Insolent fool. Once I've killed him, everything will start going my way again. The way it should be. Because I am the king.
I will not allow you to do this.
There was a flicker of the blade being swung through the air, and the brave, foolish servant crumpled to the floor. I seized the opportunity and kicked the prince in his knee and ran through the door of his room. I looked around. I had a few seconds to find a way of getting out. I spotted a ceremonial sword, grabbed it. The prince stumbled through the door. He leveled the sword at me. I know I would never be able to beat him. He was far better than I was. The sword only worked to keep him at bay. There was a musket behind a glass case on the wall. I circled the room, making my way to the gun.
If you surrender, I'll make it quick. I'm nothing if not generous. You're lucky I'm even offering you anything. You shouldn't be able to stand in the same room as me. You are nothing but a servant. And you don't stand up to me.
I made it to the musket. I had to hope it was loaded. I threw the sword at the king and smashed the window. I quickly grabbed the musket and pointed it at his head.
Does someone like you even know how to fire that thing? I am the king. My intelligence is so much higher than a servant like you. It's no different than you comparing your intelligence to a god's.
Sure I can.
Even with the slim chance you do know how to use it, how do you know if it's loaded?
I don't. Do you want to take the chance? I circled around to be right in front of the door. I pulled the trigger. It was empty. I turned and ran faster than I had ever run before. I was about to make it to the end of the corridor when the door collapsed. I turned around. There was a flash of lightning as I saw the Mad Prince silhouetted in a bright light. I looked around. There were barrels next to me. I quickly hid between a group of them.
My offer still stands, you worm. If you surrender, your death will be swift and mostly painless. A fate you aren't worthy of.
My lord!
What? Can you not see I'm busy?
The townspeople have requested another meeting. They're angry. There are talks of a revolution. You should really go and speak with them now.
Fine, I'll speak with those fools. Those traitors. They think they can get away with this. They don't know. They don't know what they did, who they angered. They angered their king, their god. I should cut their necks for this treason.
I was safe, for the moment. I had to get to town and speak with the townsfolk and tell them what I saw. I remembered there were a couple of horses left in the stables. I had to get to them, before the kid could get to town. I sprinted to the stables and got on a horse. I rode to the town to inform the townsfolk of the events that transpired in the castle. Attention everyone! Attention everyone! I have dire news that I must relay to you all.
What is it?
Our beloved king has gone mad.
How so?
I have witnessed him end the lives of 2 loyal servants. He is coming to speak with you all. I fear what he may do if anyone speaks out. Someone set fire to the castle. He believes it was one of you.
He does he? I shall speak with him. If he tries anything, we will kill him. The king has arrived!
We all went into the town square. I made sure to wear a hood. The last thing we needed was him recognizing me.
Hello. You have wished to hear from me. So here I am. I'm sure you all, just as I, know about our situation. I know it has been difficult since my father's untimely demise. I know you all have your doubts on my plans, but do not fear, For I am your king. Every single thing I do is for the good of this kingdom. This includes the good and what you may consider the bad. I have been taking care of things outside and even inside the castle walls. Because some of you may know there are traitors, moles inside our city. But I have personally taken care of a few. Because I am your king, your fearless leader. Do I hear any questions?
Why don't you tell them how your father did die?
What did you say to me? My father died in battle. He fought nobly, but he couldn't hold the fort by himself.
Tell everyone here exactly who got him killed.
You don't.
You don't wish to? Alright, I will. I was there a night on the battlefield. I'm lucky to be alive. But anyway, I heard something that I am sure a lot of people here would be interested to know about. I recall it was just before the final attack, the one that lost us the battle. The prince.
King! That's the king to you.
The prince was there. I heard him speak with his father. He said,
Father, I don't want to do this anymore.
Don't want to do what?
Fight! I saw my closest friends get killed by these barbaric people.
Are you a coward? You will fight. If you fight, we will win, and everyone will believe in us. We will get their gold. You will fight, and that is an order that is final. What do you think you are?
he stabbed our true king and ran away. The king died from the wound a few hours before the battle. We stood no chance against our enemies. We had no leader. I barely got away.
How dare you speak to your ruler like this? Everyone, bear witness. This man must die.
Another flick of the blade and the brave soldier fell. A poor decision. The crowd surrounded the prince.
Hey, what are you all doing? I am your king. Unhand me at once.
A townsperson had hit him with a rock. He proceeded to drop like one. A few more hits and it was done. The Mad Prince was dead. The next few days were less eventful than expected. The town welcomed in the opposing armies, and soon their king became ours. He was better than Albert, not by much. I decided to use some of the Mad Prince's riches to get myself a home in the countryside, away from the palace, away from the place where all the tragic events occurred. This is the end of the radio play.